Why new tourist taxes are essential for sustainable travel. The introduction of new taxes related to tourism and climate change might seem frustrating at first, but they could actually play a crucial role in preserving some of the world's most cherished yet fragile destinations. Your upcoming vacation could cost a bit more, not just because of rising prices generally, but due to newly implemented environmental charges being adopted globally. These fees apply to hotel stays, ferry rides, and even entry to national parks and protected areas, all designed to address the environmental impact of tourism. But here's where it gets controversial. While travellers may balk at higher costs, these extra fees are intended to protect the very natural wonders. In May 2025, it became the first US state to implement a tourist tax explicitly targeted at combating climate change. The so-called green fee adds an additional 0.75% on top of regular accommodation taxes, expected to generate around $100 million annually starting in 2026. These funds will support wildfire damage repair, reef restoration, and climate adaptation efforts. As Hawaii's Governor Josh Green explained, this tax answers the escalating strain that over 10 million visitors annually place on the islands, fostering a broader plan to manage increasing natural crises. Susan Fazekas, a local hiking guide on Maui and owner of Auapuhi Adventures, sees this tax not as a burden to visitors. By contributing through this fee, visitors can actively participate in safeguarding these treasures, respecting the Hawaiian concept of kuleana, meaning shared duty. Worldwide, other destinations are following suit. In January 2024, Greece replaced its overnight stay tax with a climate crisis resilience fee. This fee varies from 50 cents to €10 per night, depending on the hotel's category and season, with higher charges up to €20 per person applied during peak times on popular islands such as Mykonos and Santorini. The Greek government anticipates raising €400 million a year, which will fund improvements in water infrastructure, disaster preparedness, and ecosystem restoration. Similarly, Bali introduced a 150,000 Indonesian rupiah, about £6.88, environmental protection fee for international travellers in 2024. The Maldives, already charging a nightly green tax since 2015, doubled it in 2025 to $12, around €9 per guest per night, with proceeds supporting waste management and strengthening coastal resilience through government-managed funds. New Zealand's International Visitor Levy, initially launched in 2019, has almost tripled to about New Zealand $100, £45 in 2024. This money bolsters conservation projects and sustainable tourism infrastructure across the country. Although these additional fees might seem small compared to the total cost of travel, their potential impact is substantial, provided the funds are properly managed. Transparency is the key factor here. Dr. Rachel Dodds, a tourism management expert at Toronto Metropolitan University, stresses the importance of clearly communicating where the money goes. Without openness, these charges may create distrust or resentment among tourists. Fortunately, some places already lead by example. The Maldives offers monthly Green Fund reports that break down how funds are used for coastal protection, waste treatment, and water supply. New Zealand releases annual performance summaries demonstrating which conservation projects are supported, like restoring damaged trails in Cathedral Cove, or upgrading the New Zealand cycle trails with climate resilience in mind. Hawaii is also striving for such transparency. Following the devastating Lahaina fires, the state created a climate advisory team, CAT, that published a detailed 60-page report outlining possible resilience initiatives and funding strategies. This level of data, paired with community input and expert consultations, has reinforced public support for climate-targeted fees. CAT Chair Chris Benjamin notes that thorough research and engagement helped shape positive public opinion. Surveys indicate that many travelers are willing to pay more if they believe their contributions will be used wisely. Booking.com's 2024 Sustainable Travel Report found that 75% of global travelers aim to engage in more eco-friendly tourism soon, while 71% want to leave destinations in better condition than when they arrived. Euromonitor's 2023 study showed that nearly 80% of tourists would be ready to pay at least 10% extra for sustainable travel options, even amid a cost of living crisis. For example, Maho Tanaka, an advertising professional from Tokyo planning to visit Hawaii next year, supports the new climate fee. She points out that the amount makes a difference. A modest 0.75% hike, roughly an extra $3 on a $400 hotel bill, feels reasonable. She appreciates knowing that the money goes toward protecting Hawaii's beaches and forests, describing the islands as one big national park that deserves support. Another traveller, Zixuan Liu for China, who recently toured Greece after the climate crisis resilience fee was introduced, admits noticing the charge and feeling it was somewhat pricey. However, Liu says clearer communication about how the fee is spent would make him more willing to pay and more confident that the funds are making a difference. But here's the part most people miss. Experts warn that sustainability must not be an afterthought or an optional extra. Christopher Imsen from the World Travel Tourism Council argues that sustainable practices should be embedded in all tourism operations and offerings from the very beginning. If sustainability is the default, travelers will naturally opt for eco-friendly choices without even needing to think about it. Ultimately, the surge in climate-related tourism taxes reflects a profound shift, a rewriting of the social contract of travel. For decades, tourism has functioned largely as an extractive industry, where these relatively small taxes symbolize a move away from viewing tourism as mere consumption, towards treating it as a collaborative effort. Travelers are invited to engage actively in stewardship, transitioning from passive visitors to participants in preserving these places for future generations. Returning to Hawaii, Susan Fazekas emphasizes that responsible tourism means slowing down, experiencing less crowded, more meaningful visits that respect local culture and the environment. It's about educating visitors, minimizing impact and creating opportunities to give back, not just snapping photos and leaving quickly. So yes, your next travel experience may come with a slightly bigger price tag, but that extra $10 or €20 could be the crucial investment needed to protect and maintain these incredible destinations for decades and generations to come. Now, what do you think? Are these climate fees a necessary step to safeguard our planet's treasures, or could they deter tourism and harm local economies? Drop your thoughts below and join the conversation. Barcelona to double tourist tax by 2029. Spain travel crisis, visitor costs explained. Imagine Spain's powerhouse city turning tourists into cash cows. Barcelona, once the epicenter of budget-friendly travel, is now doubling down on a controversial strategy to squeeze more cash from visitors, keeping residents from footing the bill. Hold on to your euros. Starting next year, tourists will pay €5 just to stroll iconic Gaudi landmarks. This bold move comes as the city votes to jack up its tourist tax by €1 annually until 2029. When it reaches €8, double today's rate. But here's the kicker. Visitors already pay a separate Catalan tourist tax that's set to rise later this year, potentially pushing total nightly costs to a whopping €15 when combined with the new surcharge. That's €30 plus for a weekend stay on top of flights and hotels. Sound drastic? Proponents argue it's common sense management. The more tourists pay, the less residents have to, declared Elisenda Alamani, leader of the progressive ERC party, framing the policy as a necessary redistribution of financial burden rather than a blanket anti-tourism stance. Yet critics, like the Conservative People's Party and far-right Vox, furiously oppose this tax tsunami, warning it could decimate a key economic sector. Controversy alert. Is this a visionary way to fund public projects, or a cash grab that's pricing out budget travellers? The council approved hiking the tax with support from socialists and Barcelona en Comú, while centre-right junts abstained. Funds from the existing surcharge have already bankrolled better public transport, safety measures and climate initiatives. But get ready for more reinvestment. A 2026 Tourism Reinvestment Fund aims to funnel money into local projects that ease tourist impact, like improving noisy streets in high-traffic areas. Ask yourself, is paying extra to stay in Barcelona worth the price of a quieter neighbourhood? Home to 1.6 million residents, the city hosted 11.7 million visitors between January and November last year. Gaudi's Sagrada Familia and Park Güell, both still under construction, drew 4.7 million and 4.6 million visitors respectively in 2023 alone. Debate time. Should tourists bear more financial responsibility for over-tourism, or is this approach self-defeating? Share your take below. July 2025 Travel Update. New tourist taxes. US tourism decline, global trends. The travel landscape is shifting rapidly, with new tourist taxes, declining US tourism, and major developments in popular destinations. Let's dive into the top destination news from July and explore the controversies and changes shaping the future of travel. There's been a flurry of news about destinations lately, from Europe's rising entry fees to new data revealing the impact of Trump's policies on US tourism. Let's unpack the biggest stories you need to know from July. Over-tourism, tourist taxes. Imagine this. You're planning a trip to Europe, but suddenly the costs are rising. Over-tourism has been a hot topic this summer, and destinations are implementing new measures to manage its effects. Europe's upcoming ETIAS system, set to launch in late 2026, will now cost travellers €20, a significant jump from the current €7 fee. This system, designed to streamline entry into the European Union, has faced delays but is finally moving forward. But here's where it gets controversial. Some argue that higher fees could deter budget-conscious travellers, while others believe it's a necessary step to manage overcrowding. What do you think? Is the increased fee justified, or will it harm tourism? Europe isn't stopping at entry fees. The continent is also cracking down on bad tourist behaviour with hefty fines and bans. In Spain, for instance, fines for smoking on beaches, public urination, and drunken behaviour can cost tourists over €1,000. These measures aim to preserve the quality of life for locals and maintain the appeal of popular destinations. And this is the part most people miss. New tourist taxes are popping up in unexpected places. Greece has introduced a sustainable cruise tax, charging visitors up to €20 per port visit, depending on the season and island popularity. Meanwhile, Baja California Sur in Mexico is charging overnight travelers around $25, with funds earmarked for sustainability and development projects. Trump's travel impact the United States. The United States has seen significant changes under the Trump administration, affecting both domestic and international travel. The passage of Trump's Big Beautiful Bill has slashed funding for Brand USA, the nation's destination marketing organization, from $100 million to $20 million. This cut comes at a critical time as Brand USA works to attract visitors for the US. 250th birthday and major sporting events. Adding to the controversy, the Trump administration has introduced a new $250 visa integrity fee for international travelers, on top of existing visa fees. The lack of details about this fee has left many puzzled. Is this a necessary measure to ensure visa integrity, or an unnecessary burden on travellers? A recent survey found that 80% of Southeast Asian travellers view the US as less attractive due to Trump's policies, with concerns over discrimination and global relations. Additionally, Canadian visitation to the US has dropped significantly, with car trips down over 33% and air travel down 22% in June. This decline marks the 6th consecutive month of decreases. And here's a surprising twist. The US passport, once the most powerful travel document, has dropped to 10th place, tied with Iceland and Lithuania. This ranking is below many Asian and European countries, raising questions about the US global standing. What do Europeans think of American travelers? Ever wondered what Europeans think of American tourists? A new survey by Upgraded Points asked 2,200 Europeans about their perceptions. The results? Americans are often seen as loud, badly behaved, and insistent on speaking English. While 73% of Americans believe they have a bad reputation abroad, only 27% of Europeans agree. However, 36% of Europeans think Americans generally behave worse than other tourists. Countries like France, Hungary, Norway, Denmark, and Spain reported the highest levels of dislike for American tourists, while Belgium and Italy were more forgiving. Tourism destination development. Destinations and tourism organizations have announced ambitious plans this past month. Greenland, fresh from the spotlight after Trump's annexation threats, is focusing on growing its tourism industry responsibly. New flight routes, a booming cruise industry, and social media campaigns are all part of the strategy to attract visitors.